Mute yourself, you maniac. There you go. Chris Scalzo here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of The First Run, it's all come down to this, Matt. 10 years in the making, 17 films, and we finally finished the first chapter of the Marvel's MCU Avengers saga. Avengers Infinity War is here. We're going to dedicate the whole show to it, mostly. We're going to do a spoiler-free discussion in the beginning, and then we'll take a little break, and then we'll jump into all the spoilers, all the speculation. They're going to wrap the show up by doing a big, momentous ranking of all of the films from, I think we should do from worst to best, but interchange it. So bad, good, bad, good, bad, good.
Okay.
Because that would make it really difficult and confusing, which I think is what I do best.
That is really what we're going for. With 19 films, it'll get lost really quickly.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
So let's hear a clip from Avengers Infinity War.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal. To wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers. Just like that.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
We got one advantage. He's coming to us. We have what Thanos wants, so that's what we use.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Wow.
All right, Matt. So let's get the big news. I think the most important news out of the way about Avengers Infinity War.
All right.
Avengers Infinity War beat the global historical entire take for Justice League in 6 days.
Wonder why.
And I am very sad about that.
I know.
And I think that's all we need to talk about.
Is it?
Matt,
okay, good show, guys.
So why don't you tell everybody, what is Avengers Infinity War all about?
Well, if you've been living under a rock for the past 10 years, this is the culmination of where the entire MCU has been going. Marvel big heavy Thanos, who is making his screen debut before Darkseid does, so everybody will think Darkseid is a ripoff of Thanos, is in search of the Infinity Stones, which will allow him to control reality and eliminate half the population of the galaxy, because he thinks that's a good idea with just the snap of his fingers. And the Avengers are out to stop him. And everybody else, too.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. So the Russo brothers have helmed, I think, outside of Thor Ragnarok, the best films in the series, I think, right? So they've done the last two Captain America films, Winter Soldier and Civil War. And now they're, of course, doing Infinity War, and then the sequel, which the title is not going to be released. Probably, what do you think, Comic-Con?
Yeah, maybe.
Comic-Con in San Diego is when they'll release it, because supposedly the title actually spoils part of the next film.
Oh, okay.
So I'm of two minds on this film, all right? First off, I think this is top-notch spectacle. This is probably the greatest comic book roller coaster ride you're ever going to experience.
Right.
It doesn't have the impact and the heft of the Nolan Batman films, but it is huge. It is, and not just huge in scope, huge in story, and there's just a ton that the Russos are juggling with this thing, and it's difficult because you've had all these other films, right, to establish these characters and to give them their own plot lines. And it's a big haul to kind of keep all of these characters involved and doing through their own streams, and eventually everybody kind of coming together. There are some characters I felt get short shrift, and I've recently found out there's a particular reason for that, and we'll talk about that in the spoiler section.
Okay.
But it's, I don't know. I think it's mostly successful. I have one huge problem with this film, which we'll get into in a bit, because I want to kind of wait and get your thoughts on the film. But overall, I think that the Russos do a fine job. The acting in it is all great. The dialogue, everything's fine. Everything, basically, it's what you expected and hoped it would be. It doesn't underdeliver or underperform. It pretty much is everything it's supposed to, except for one thing, which we'll get to. But I think it's just interesting to see these characters, Matt, finally have to deal with failure and death, which they've never really had to do.
Right.
So there was an attempt to apply real world stakes to the MCU.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what were your thoughts?
So this film, like you said, is gigantic. It's just absolutely massive. And it's a little jarring, I have to admit, when it first starts, because there is this thing hits the ground running and stays sprinting basically throughout the whole film. You know, there's none of that breathing room setup kind of thing. It jumps right into the action, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds. And I think you're right. Some of the pairings that we've seen that are in this film are fantastic, and I just want more of it. You know, and I just kind of wish some of that stuff would just continue into the future. Some of them are less successful, but that's okay. But I mean, by the last third of this film, I was just out of breath watching this thing. Now I've seen it twice, and I can tell you, I enjoyed it way more on my first viewing than I did on my second viewing. Where I think some of the holes and maybe some of the strain from the plot and what it's trying to do kind of shows a little bit more. But when I watched it the first time, I mean, it was just, I was breathless in those kind of last, you know, half hour of that film. And I think it's ultimately, I don't think we've ever really seen anything like this before, and it's a rousing success. It's as far as what it goes out to try and do.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's a bit of critic fatigue starting actually to set in with the MCU, because I think any of the criticisms that you may have for this film, I think are criticisms you could apply to almost every other Marvel film.
Right.
So the fact that they stick out now, for some reason, I don't quite know. I also think there's a little bit of hyperbole out there. Yeah. Some critics have talked about how complaining about the future of cinema, that the success of this film is like the death knell for artistic cinema, and that's bunk. I mean, that's like saying you don't like pop music because you really just want to be underground. But you know, at the end of the day, they got all that stuff on Blu-ray. They're watching it when they get around to it. They have their own favorite list. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's not bad for film. I mean, it's just a different kind of blockbuster, and it just has resonated with people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I agree. So let me talk generally about what I think is wrong with this film, and we'll really get into it with the spoilers section, all right? Because there's only so much I can say here in my complaints. First off, though, I was shaky CGI at some points. Now, I think if you watch the credits, too, and you got to wait for the end credits, obviously, because they have the little stinger at the end, but there was some pretty shaky CGI at times. I don't know. And if you go through the credits, I should say, I lost the thread of my own point. That I think the credits of this thing are like 10 minutes long. And a good 8 minutes, I think, is dedicated to all the special effects, all the different departments and companies. But so it's particularly the Hulkbuster armor. When you see Ruffalo's face in the Hulkbuster armor at one point, it really looks cheap and bad. Right. And there's little things kind of like that peppered through. For the most part, I think if I were to grade the CGI, I would go probably A-. Yeah. But there were just a couple that were so obvious that it just bothered me. Yeah, there were a couple. I know what you're talking about at the end when Ruffalo's sitting there with the helmet off and his head just looks like this little toothpick thing sticking out of the armor. And it's not just perspective of it. I mean, that's what it would look like. Yeah. But it looks pasted on. Yeah, it does. But I mean, there's nothing so egregious in this film. Now, I think that's why I said what A-. Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, there are probably, I can't think of a whole lot of instances that are worse than other Marvel films, especially, you know,
outlying that, just that the technology's improved so much from where they started. But I mean, I hate to do this to you, Chris, but it's still miles better than a lot of other blockbuster type superhero films that we've seen recently.
Justice League.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And a couple things too, I think they fumble. The introduction of Captain America didn't really have the pop that I thought it should have.
Sure.
I mean, it was cool, I guess,
Yeah.
but it didn't him walking out of the shadows. It's supposed to be this big moment.
Right.
And
but I mean, it was in the trailers.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think the big problem is that this film fumbles it on the 1 yard line.
Okay.
The choices that they make. First off, there's a few characters that die, and we'll get into this, that I think for the most part are permanent.
Right. I agree.
Then the vast majority of the passings are not.
Right.
And I think Marvel, the films have finally fully embraced everything that is wrong with comic books.
Right.
And that's the lack of finality. It's the lack of true stakes. It's the film, and this is the Empire Strikes Back of the MCU. All right, I guess it's as spoilery as I'll get.
Okay.
Because it ends on a downer.
Right.
But it's not. It doesn't earn it, and I don't buy a second of it. And I think it's a failure on the Russo's part. When they're on, what are they on? Titan?
Yes.
With Doctor Strange?
Yes.
I think that and maybe this is clumsy dialogue and writing, I don't know. But when they reveal certain things, and then the way things come to pass, and then the conclusion, I'm like, all right, whatever. None of this means anything. None of this means anything.
Okay. So yes, I know what you're saying, and I completely agree with you. I think the majority of the deaths that we see are not going to be permanent, just by the simple fact that we know that there's more movies coming out, and that's we already know all that stuff. But I did read an interesting comment, because this has been a kind of a common sticking point in a lot of the commentary that I've seen on the various websites that I go onto. And one person put it kind of insightfully, and I thought it was good to mention. He said, or he or she said, that the point isn't for you to feel the loss. The point is for the characters to feel the loss. It's not that we think as the audience know that some of this stuff is not going to be permanent, but the ones who are still around, as far as they know, it is permanent, and it's going to be really affect them for going forward into the next movie. And who's to say any of those guys? I can see the next movie, the ones who survive, that some of them going out for real. I think those are where the real stakes are going to come into play.
Maybe you're right, and I hope so. But just for me, like I said, and it's particularly with Marvel and its constant, almost bi-monthly rebooting of the franchise, of their universe.
Oh, you mean the comics?
Yes.
Okay, wait a minute, DC.
And I will never forgive. Well, no, let me finish. I will never forgive DC for bringing back Barry Allen. He was the patron saint of DC. His death was supposed to be the only permanent death.
Yeah.
Everybody else was like, whatever. But his sacrifice was supposed to be kind of just the linchpin of the entire thing. And they brought him back.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, the death of Barry Allen in Crisis on Infinite Earths. I mean, come on, man. That's kind of like the thing. But you're right. They brought him back, and DC's just as bad. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the New 52 and Rebirth and all that kind of stuff. They all try to do these big things, and the reason that they're doing this, guys, for those of you, that, and because honestly, okay, Superman turned 80 this year, and just think of all of the thousands of Superman stories. The continuity is just a mess, so they just reset it so they can start over and not have to worry about some of this stuff. Keep the parts that they like and get rid of the stuff they don't.
That's not the case with Marvel. I was reading into this, like a bunch of comic shop owners and stuff. Marvel is just rebooting. They're chasing sales. It's the high of the number one issues. You know, so that's what they've been doing, and I guess a lot of retailers are really ticked off because also their variant policy is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Where you have to buy so many issues to get the variant issue that everybody wants,
Right.
and they end up getting stuck with all of these. And I guess Marvel's, or is it maybe it's the distributor Diamond, refuse to take returns on those now too.
Oh, okay.
So they're stuck with them.
Yeah.
So it's just a big nightmare. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
It's like the 90s speculation craze all over again. That's
Yeah.
why I read Marvel Unlimited, and I just read my comics digitally as much as I want. 6 months old, but still, it's fine.
I'd love to. I wish DC would do that.
So do
And
I. I wish DC would do that too, because that would be sweet.
they just launched their well, they announced officially their DC streaming service. They're gonna have a live action Titan show.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
And the Swamp Thing and some other stuff. So anyway, all right. So more back to the film, Matt. Do you have anything else to say? I think it is a mostly successful film. It's a lot of fun. I know I sound like I'm down on the film. I enjoyed it. It's a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay. I just had some issues with the ending of it. If I'm going to give this thing a grade in the genre of it is in the film, what they're able to do for these superhero movies, I'm going to give it an A-. I think it's a lot of fun. It's very funny at times. It does have some touching moments. Spider-Man particularly has a really nice scene that I found out later was improvised.
Oh.
So we'll talk about that again in the spoiler show. So, but yeah, I did enjoy it. It just didn't think it stuck the landing. So I'm still giving it an A-. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A- too. I mean, that may change when Infinity War 4 or Avengers 4 comes out. Just because, you know, well, it's not fair to say this. I mean, it may more of it may reveal itself as we kind of see the end game of how this is all going to play out. But who's ready for Ant-Man? The levity of Ant-Man and the Wasp after all this?
How about, who cares, right? I mean, is there Paul Rudd? I love Paul Rudd, so I'll go see the film for sure. Not like I wasn't going to see it.
Yeah,
but still, I mean, after all the everything that happened in Infinity War, is Ant-Man going to be a bit of a letdown?
I think it'll be a little bit of a palate cleanser, which I think is good. And I think the reason they did it this way, there must be something in it that is very critical to how they solve the issue with going forward. I've read on things that they think may have something to do with the quantum realm, and that's where they're going to start bringing that in. But so I guess maybe there's some kind of thing that if they played it before, it would kind of ruin some of Infinity War. That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm wondering too if Hawkeye is going to show up because he was, not
Justice for Hawkeye.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
All right. If you had a chance to see Avengers Infinity War, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I would be reasonably excited to hear your thoughts. Matt, coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, that is April 8th. DC Universe, DC Animated, I don't know what they're calling themselves, but Batman Ninja is coming out, and I'm really excited to check this one out. I think we should try and do it for the show. Have you seen the trailer for this?
I have not. No. Oh, wait, is this the anime one where they're like
Yes.
samurais? Yes. Okay. I have seen like a little snippet. I am pretty stoked for it.
So I didn't realize what the whole conceit of the film was. Basically, it takes a journey across the ages as Gorilla Grodd's time displacement machine transports many of Batman's worst enemies to feudal Japan. So it just looks like a really fun idea. An anime samurai Batman. Includes a couple featurettes on the making of the film. What else is coming out here? We got some interesting stuff. Moonrise from Criterion, a small-town fable about violence and redemption. Moonrise is the final triumph of Frank Borzage, one of Hollywood's most neglected masters. It's called Stigmatized, Matt. Easy for you to say. From the infancy, by the fate of his criminal father, young Danny is bruised and bullied until one night, in a fit of rage, he kills his most persistent tormentor. As the police close in around him, Danny makes a desperate bid for the love of the dead man's fiancée, a school teacher who sees the wounded soul behind his aggression. Includes a new 4K restoration of the film with an uncompressed monaural soundtrack, a new conversation between author Hervé Dumont, Frank Borzage, the life and films of Hollywood romantic, and film historian Peter Crowley. Gun Crazy, one of the great film noirs, is being released on Blu-ray finally. I'm not familiar. Are you familiar with Gun Crazy at all, Matt?
I am not.
That's why guys always been kind of just obsessed with guns. Then he meets a girl and everything kind of goes haywire. But it's pretty good. I bought it as part of the original noir collection that was released, dear God, like 15 years ago. A couple things getting released on 4K Blu-ray for the first time. Finally, I don't know why the delay. Phantom Thread,
All right.
Saving Private Ryan,
Oh,
and Source Code, all being released on 4K. And two, it was announced last week. I don't think we covered it because it's not out yet, but only Best Buy is going to have the 4K release of Annihilation. Now, I don't know if that's limited. I'm assuming that's going to be a limited time thing.
sure.
But they have a 4K exclusive on Annihilation,
Mm.
which would that be the best film we've seen so far this year? I don't know. I have to think about
No,
that.
we have to go back and I have to go back and look and just see. There's probably something that is better, but nothing's coming to mind. Not that you mentioned it.
Yeah, kind of set you up on that. Sorry. And then your straight to DVD pick of the week, Matt, is going to be Six Sock Monsters from Outer Space.
Oh, right.
As the new king of the galaxy, King Gregorio comes to power with an idea that fitness regimes will keep his populace content. The once renowned badass galactic rock star, Captain Pixwis, is tasked with delivering essential tanning beds to every corner of the universe. Pixwis and his crew of Six Sock Monsters find themselves on the mysterious planet Nemesis. All right, first off, your film is Six Sock Monsters. Your star is a guy named Captain Pixwis, spelled Pixws. Your planet's going to be Nemesis.
Mm.
You can't give me anything more. Anyway, so they find themselves on the mysterious planet Nemesis, where they discover the gruesome truths about King Gregorio's galactic reign. Intense, sexy time, drugs and violence, paired with a vibrant soundtrack of vintage sci-fi orchestral works and death metal, make Six Sock Monsters from Outer Space suitably out of this world.
Uh-huh.
So which will be streaming this week, Matt?
Well, I'm going to recommend, in the spirit of comic books, I'm going to rec a comic book movie, but that is outside of DC or the MCU. Recently available again on Netflix is Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, the second entry in the Hellboy franchise, directed by Guillermo del Toro. I think I speak for both of us when we say that it's a little underappreciated. I think it's very clever in its visuals. It's a good story. It's well acted. The action's good. So if you haven't seen it and you're looking for something a little different in your comic book movies, definitely check it out. I think it is. Would you say it's superior to the first one? I think I do like it a little better than the first one.
I don't know. I'd probably say no because it doesn't have as many Nazis in it.
True. Creepy ass Nazis too.
I like my Hellboy when he's punching Nazis.
That's true.
So I don't think so. All right, so here, Matt, here's what we've seen so far: Annihilation, Black Panther, The Ritual. Here's a contender: Thoroughbreds, Red Sparrow, Mute, Veronica, Tomb Raider, Killing Gunther, The Vault, Pacific Rim Uprising, Ready Player One, A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Death of Stalin, Six Balloons, Rampage, Inside.
Wow. So I guess Annihilation would win by a country mile, if I'm being honest.
I did like Thoroughbreds a lot.
I did too. But I don't see Thoroughbreds making it into the regular rotation, whereas Annihilation I do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
God, that bear was freaky, huh?
Yeah, it was. That was really creepy.
I haven't been that freaked out watching a movie. I haven't been that scared watching a movie in a long time. Well done, Alex Garland. All right, let's move on, Matt. Let's dig into it. Let's get into the Avengers spoilers portion of the show. But first, here's a clip.
He's waiting for you. All right. Oh, don't forget your umbrella. Oh, yes. Sorry.
So, is there a character in the Marvel universe that has had a better evolution than Thor?
I seriously, he's like my favorite dude right now. He's my dude. He's my dude watching this film.
He was. I think I've made it fairly clear, and you'll also, when we get to the end of the show and we rank all the films, how much I despise those Thor films.
Yeah,
they are so bad.
And I think Chris is going to yell at me because I put them higher than a couple other films. They're in the bottom, but they're not at the bottom. So we might have a fight on our hands.
Maybe, but that thing is just a mess. But Ragnarok, I should say, is chef's kiss.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
It is a wonderful little film. All right, Matt, let's get into it. Avengers spoilers discussion. If you don't want to know what happened, then you're going to want to turn off right now. All right. The timestamp will be in the show. so you can see when you can pick up if you want to hear where we rank the movies.
Sure.
Couple things. First off, okay, let's just run through the deaths. Let's get the big stuff out of the way.
Okay.
Gamora, dead.
Dead. Right.
Permanent. My initial thought was yes, but now I'm thinking she's in the Soul Stone.
That's what I think too. I don't think she is permanent. I think with Guardians 3, Zoe Saldana's not going anywhere. Definitely still alive.
So in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to sacrifice something or someone you love. So Thanos takes Gamora and throws her off the cliff. Meanwhile, Red Skull pops up.
Yeah, he does.
But they couldn't, as the what is it? The Soul Stone, the Stone Keeper. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not Hugo Weaving. It's
not.
The guy from The Walking Dead. What's his name? I'm blanking on it. So, but still, it was fine. But it was kind of cool to see the Red Skull kind of pop up like that.
Yeah.
So Gamora gets thrown off the cliff. So I think she is in the Soul Stone. So she will somehow get resurrected. Loki, Matt? Is Loki dead?
Yes. I'm 90. Okay. I'm 100. I'm going to go ahead and just say something first. I'll spoil one of the deaths. I'm 100% sure Idris Elba is done. Heimdall is not coming back at all. We've seen the last of Heimdall.
Taking out the brother. That is.
But I'm 98% sure Loki's dead. Just because I think it's a little on the nose how much they said that it's permanent this time. Between Thor and Thanos and everybody else. So I don't know if they're trying to psych us out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think he's gone too. I think that's a permanent. I think Heimdall's definitely good. I mean, gone. And then finally, I guess for the big one is Vision.
Yeah.
So let me backtrack too. So Loki and Heimdall are killed in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Because Thanos' goons show up with Thanos on Thor's ship to claim one of the stones.
Right. To get the Space Stone, the Tesseract.
Yeah. Because Loki had it.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of assumed that Vision would be back, but you know what? Maybe he comes back as somebody different. Because
he's a different body. Because he's a computer, right?
Right.
So he just shot his consciousness somewhere else.
Right. So that it's not Paul Bettany anymore, because Paul Bettany's been involved with these things since Iron Man. I mean, he was the voice of Jarvis from the first Iron Man. So he's been doing this in some form or another since as long as Robert Downey Jr. has been. So he may be done. He may be like, I'm all set with this, guys, and that's fine. But I think Vision will come back in maybe a different form.
I wonder if they'll do like the West Coast Avengers thing when he was killed. It was back during John Byrne's run, and he came back as Vision, but he was like emotionless, and he wore like his whole thing was like a white costume, and he was all white. So I'm wondering if maybe he'll come back in that capacity. I don't know. I refuse to believe that there wasn't a backup of the Vision thing somewhere in Tony Stark's computer servers somewhere.
Right. Vision 2.0.
Right. So Thanos wins. All right, folks, that's basically what happens. He blinks out half of existence, which is all of the Guardians except for Rocket, which I didn't even really realize until after I walked out of the theater. They're all gone but Rocket. And Chris Pratt announced, I think yesterday or today, that they start filming Guardians Part 3 next year. So
we know Star-Lord's coming back at the very least.
And we know there's another Spider-Man movie coming. So Spider-Man dies as well. That scene when he's holding on to Stark and saying, I don't want to die, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, was improvised by Holland. And it was one of the more touching scenes in the film.
Really? Good for Holland, man. Good for him.
So who else kicks? Black Panther.
But there's no way. Like, the money printing machine that is Black Panther is not coming back. I mean, come on, guys.
Winter Soldier, Nick Fury,
Falcon.
Whoever Kobe Smulders plays, I can't remember her character's name.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange goes, which I thought was one of the interesting moves, because as the film progresses, right, and then there's how many billions or millions of alternatives that Strange is able to watch through time with the time stone. It's only on one version of the reality or whatever it is do they actually win. And then he says something like, this is how it has to happen, or he says something to the effect that basically this was the only way.
Right, exactly.
The only way for him would be to allow Thanos to win.
Right.
And then I guess his guard is down, and then they invade Titan or whatever. Or maybe he's in the Soul Stone. Maybe that's where Thanos is right now. I think in the initial comics, that's where he was.
Right.
He actually created there's a pocket dimension in the Soul Stone or something, and that's where he retires too, which is also where he's able to reinvigorate or resurrect, I guess, Gamora because of his guilt. If he has any guilt. And I think in the comics, actually, it's Thanos who brings everything back into existence.
Yeah, see, I really don't remember the Infinity Gauntlet that much. I remember I had some of it, but I don't even think I ever finished it.
So pretty much everybody kicked. So who's left, right? You have Captain America, you have Iron Man. Who else is left? You have
so you have all the original Avengers. So you have Thor, Captain America, Black Widow. Iron Man, Nebula is still around.
Yep.
The Hulk is still around. Banner's still around. War Machine's still around. And then conceivably Hawkeye and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Although that remains to be seen.
True. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. And of course, there's the big reveal. The stinger of the movie is Captain Marvel. So as Nick Fury is driving and everything starts to go haywire, so Thanos has snapped his fingers and everything's gone, is just disintegrating from existence. He pulls out his pager, which obviously is a nod because I guess Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s. Right. And when he dies, he drops it, hits the ground, and then the camera zooms in, and it's Captain Marvel's shirt.
Yeah,
costume,
her symbol,
star symbol thing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious: is Captain Marvel? Is she just in space doing missions? Or is she like some crazy incognito special forces superhero? Because she's supposed to be one of the most powerful heroes, right, in the Marvel universe.
Right. Yes, she is. She is. So from what I remember of Captain Marvel, she got her powers from a Kree, the original Captain Marvel, and I think she is basically either initially was fighting with the Kree against the Skrulls, and I think the Kree-Skrull War is going to be in Captain Marvel, and then I think she may be also, because the Kree are bad guys now, fighting against the Kree, and that's where she is, out in space.
Okay. Well, I'm glad she can come back and help save the day. So a couple, as I said too earlier in the show, that there were a couple heroes that I thought got short shrift in the film, and those are Captain America and Black Widow. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, one of the Russo boys, they were at a convention or something, and they said that was basically on purpose.
Oh, okay.
That if people had smaller roles, what they did is they did that because they're going to have larger roles in the second film.
Okay.
They wanted to focus more on everybody else.
Right.
Because the other actors are going to have a lot more screen time in part 4.
Right.
So I think that's Captain America, Black Widow really are going to be two of the big ones. And obviously, I'm assuming Captain Marvel.
And Hawkeye.
Maybe Ant-Man and Wasp.
But that brings up a good point, though, because so we know Black Widow is getting her own film. So you know she's going to make it through, unless it's some kind of flashback kind of thing, which I don't know why they would do. She's getting her own film. So I think she's going to make it through. And that also speaks to say that Captain America is going to make it through, but I'm really convinced that we're not going to have. I'm convinced we're not going to have RDJ after the fourth one. I think Iron Man's is gonna sacrifice himself in some way. I think Mark Ruffalo might be done as well. And as much as it pains me to say it, and I hope it's not true. Thor, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of goes off into the sunset in some way or shape or another.
Yeah, to try and build a new Asgard with whoever's left, if there's anybody left.
Well, Valkyrie made it off. He did say that that half of the Asgardians were dead, so Thanos left half of them alive.
Yeah, where was Valkyrie in this whole thing?
I'm assuming she just escaped with to guard who she could get away with. That's all I can think of.
All right. So what's up with the Hulk? I think basically he was just scared by Thanos.
Yeah.
Which is why he would never come out.
Yeah.
Because a big part of the issue is Ruffalo couldn't conjure up the Hulk throughout the entire film.
A lot of performance anxiety, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, the whole thing in the comics is that the Hulk and Banner split at some point, and they become individual beings. So I don't know if they're trying to go that way, or he's just tired of taking orders from puny Banner.
Could be. I don't think Hulk's gonna go away. My money's still on. I think RDJ is done.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence with Chris Evans as Captain America. I could go either way.
Right.
But I'm not sure. But I think definitely RDJ is going to be the big kill, the big loss in the next film.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize Ben Mendelsohn is in Captain Marvel. Nice.
We do love us some Mendelsohn.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
So, and I'm curious too how, like you said, how Ant-Man and Wasp are going to tie in. Maybe that pocket dimension or whatever it is, the quantum field, quantum dimension. What are they called?
Yeah, the quantum zone. Did I say that? What it is? Yeah, quantum. Now I forgot. Yeah, I think it's the quantum zone.
Okay, but that's when you get really small, right?
Right.
You can...
It's basically like inner space instead of outer space. Inner space.
Interesting. All right, and the other big thing too I wanted to complain about is Chris Pratt.
Okay.
Chris Pratt. And it's not Chris Pratt I'm upset with. It's
Star-Lord. Because Chris Pratt is delightful playing off of Chris Hemsworth.
So two things. Another reason why none of the Guardians are dead. Maybe Mantis. Maybe Drax.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You bite your tongue. Dave Bautista is a treasure in those films.
He is, though. He is. I just remembered what is Gamora? But yeah, it is. Okay, so as I said, all the Guardians are dead but Rocket. So we know that most of them are going to come back.
Yeah.
My problem with Star-Lord in this thing is his failure when they're fighting Thanos is totally okay. So Gamora, right? She knows where the Soul Stone is. This is before she dies, and she says to Star-Lord, "Listen, if Thanos captures me, you have to kill me because he will get me to reveal where the Soul Stone is."
Right.
And he agrees begrudgingly, and then it happens.
Yep.
And he pulls the trigger to kill her, and of course Thanos uses the Reality Stone, I can't remember what it's called, and turns the lasers into bubbles, so he can't kill her.
Right.
Great. So they get separated. Thanos kills Gamora. They all meet up on Titan, and they are so close to getting the gauntlet off of his hand.
Yeah.
Right, because Mantis is on top of him, and she's kind of hypnotizing him or giving him the woolies in his head, and Spider-Man and Iron Man, and they're all about to get the gauntlet off his hand. And while Thanos is in his weird trance state, he states that he killed Gamora. So instead of Star-Lord helping to get the glove off, he starts having a conversation with him, saying, "I don't believe you. No, no," and which allows him to gain enough strength, basically, to kind of snap out of it, and he's able to stop the whole thing, and then basically everybody starts getting their butts kicked.
Right.
That makes no sense. If he's willing to kill Gamora, how can he then be? Because it's the Deus Ex Machina for the film, right? It's the only way to get out of that scene.
Yeah.
Is to have Pratt Star-Lord do something that I don't think he would do. What do you think? This bothers me.
Yeah, I guess. See, I think yes. I don't know. We've seen Star-Lord or Quill act impulsively in the past. Like he's trying to show off with Rocket. They crash their ship in the first one, and he almost gets them all killed trying to show off. So he's impulsive, and his emotions get the better of him.
He knows the stakes. He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He knows this is their only shot.
But I think Doctor Strange knew it too, and this is all I can figure. Again, going back to it's the only way. So he told everybody, saying the only way to do it is this is what we're going to do. We're going to trap Thanos, and you're going to pull the glove off, and that's the only way we're going to be able to do it, knowing full well that this would happen, and that he allowed it to happen, but didn't tell anybody else because he knew they wouldn't go along with it. So I think he lied to say what he needed to have happen.
All right.
Or
it still bothers me. It doesn't explain his decision.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, maybe Doctor Strange pulled him aside and said, "Look, Thanos is going to tell you something, and you need to punch him in the face when that happens. And he didn't tell him what was going to happen, because then at the end, Star-Lord, while everybody's fading away, he says, like, "Did we just lose?" And he seems really confused by all this is happening. So maybe Strange told him something else.
Yeah, when I'm in my head, I'm yelling at the screen. Yeah, you lost because you got distracted, you idiot.
Right.
Get your head in the game, baby.
But maybe he's saying, maybe Strange told him that if you do this, this is how we win, and so that's what he did. And thinking that would be what he was supposed to do.
That doesn't make any sense.
I know it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's got to be one or the other. Either Star-Lord knew what he was doing and Strange told him, or he didn't know what he was doing, but that's because Strange kept it from everybody.
It still doesn't.
But, I mean...
If he's willing to shoot Gamora, he should not have gotten distracted like that. You could have momentarily go, what? But then you're all in, baby. Instead of trying to have a conversation with a guy and tell him, no, you don't, what? What? You didn't. What?
Well,
no.
The reason that he did it, the reason that it went is that he punched Thanos in the face and it jarred Mantis loose. Right. So she loses control of keeping him under and like sedated or whatever. Right. So I guess maybe he thought that he could punch Thanos in the face with impunity, that they had this under control, and whoops. But
starts yelling at him, from there.
But I mean, you got to figure Strange saw that maybe in one of those 14 million timelines he saw, they got the glove off and somehow they still ended up losing. So maybe he knew it couldn't happen.
Well, clearly, the way though it's played out is that clearly Strange knows the only way for them to win is to lose.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to have to be. I think the only option really is to. I don't know if the time stone will be powerful enough to undo what Thanos did, unless maybe they're able to convince. Let me put it that way: would it be a letdown for you if Thanos in the end is reasoned with and unsnaps his finger and puts everything back to the way it was?
Yes, it would. I think, because I don't think there's nothing in his character that would allow him to do that. I almost think
he appeared to show real remorse about having to kill Gamora,
but he did it anyway, and he did it because it was his destiny or whatever. But what I do think, what I think is going to happen, is the mold for the gauntlet still exists, and Thanos's gauntlet is ruined. He can't use it again. So I think what they try and do. We don't know what happened to the Infinity Stones, but they try and go get him back and to use the gauntlet themselves. And then maybe somebody like Tony tries to use it and ends up killing himself, restoring things back to the way they were. I see him doing it more
I think Tony dies in battle.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it'll have to be Thor that is able to hold. If Thor is able to withstand the exposure to a star, the harnessed power of a star.
He's gonna have to do it again, so Peter Dinklage can create another Infinity Gauntlet for him.
Yes. I just want to just briefly. How great is Chris Hemsworth as Thor in these last two films? I
love it. I mean, and just again, him and Chris Pratt were fun, but like even just Dave Bautista throwing in those little asides, like he's like an angel and a pirate had a baby. He's like, you are a dude. This is a man.
Oh, so good.
It is so good.
As Franco would say,
so good. And I can tell you, the last thing I'll gush over Thor, when he appears in that final battle and he comes flying up in the air, I wanted the Immigrant Song to start playing immediately. I feel like that's like his theme song for the rest of everything he appears in from now on.
It should be. Thank you, Taiki Waititi.
Yes.
For
completely redeeming a character.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else? That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm excited to see Ant-Man and the Wasp because I'm really curious to see what's in it that would have been spoilery, and I really wish that Marvel would have moved this up. I think that we should get like some kind of Christmas release. We shouldn't have to wait a whole another 365 days to get this thing. So we shall see.
That wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that. All right. So let's rank them. Let's get this over with. All right.
All right. Let's go.
Starting from the bottom.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready. 19.
Thor.
I put Iron Man 2 at number 19.
Iron Man 2, huh?
Yeah. I really do not like Iron Man 2 a lot.
Fair enough. I'm not sure about this one. Incredible Hulk or Thor: The Dark World. I'm just gonna stick with my guns. I'm going Thor: The Dark World.
Okay. Number 18, I put as Thor, the original Thor.
Mm-hmm.
And then 17, I had an Incredible Hulk.
So we're both with that. We both have 17 as the Hulk.
Yep.
Number 16 for me is Iron Man 2.
16, it was Thor: The Dark World. I think it has some redeeming qualities, if I remember correctly. More than the 3 below it.
If you say so. For me, number 15 then would be Captain America: The First Avenger.
See, I
do not like that film very much at all.
I don't like that film very much at all, but I put Avengers: Age of Ultron as 15 because I think it was a wasted opportunity. I think it was a little more egregious.
I have Ultron as 14. Pushed over the top like that, if you will, over the top, just because of RDJ. It's enough to kind of always elevate whatever it is.
Yeah, I put Captain America: The First Avenger as 14. But to be quite honest, I haven't seen that one probably in since it came out. So I can't say for sure if it's really any better than Age of Ultron.
All right. My number 13 is Iron Man 3.
Same.
Very good. Number 12, Marvel's The Avengers.
I put Doctor Strange at number 12.
I have Doctor Strange at 11.
This is where might get a little mad. I had Guardians Volume 2 at number 11.
What?
Yeah.
Fine. Number 10, Ant-Man.
Number 10 was The Avengers, the first Avengers. But as everyone will recall who's a longtime listener, I enjoyed that film a lot more than Chris did.
Mm-hmm. My number 9 is Black Panther.
My number 9 is Ant-Man.
Okay. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Number 8 was Black Panther.
Number 7, the original Iron Man, the granddaddy of them all.
Oh, really? Wow, I thought that would be way higher for you. I put Avengers: Infinity War as number 7.
Yeah, no, it's dropped a little bit for me.
Okay,
Avengers: Infinity War was 7 for you. Wow. Yeah. Spider-Man: Homecoming is my number 6.
My number 6 was Civil War.
My number 5 is the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
My number 5 was Spider-Man.
My number 4 is Civil War.
Okay. My number 4 was the original Iron Man.
So that means my number 3 is Avengers: Infinity War.
Oh, wow. I'm really surprised.
Mm-hmm. It had everything I wanted, and like I just said, it just didn't stick the landing.
Okay. My number 3 was Guardians of the Galaxy. I think just because I had a soft spot of how well they pulled that off.
That's true. So there it is. Here's, I think, the final 2. I think we both have the same 2.
Yes.
So I'm just curious where you float 1 or 2. I went back and forth on this, and when I originally wrote my list, this was actually number 1.
Yeah.
But now I just think I just like I could really go either way depending on what day you ask me.
That's true. Yes.
But I recently rewatched this film, and though I still loved it and find it very humorous, as a cohesive whole film, I feel it wasn't as good as my number 1. Mm-hmm. So my number 2 is Thor: Ragnarok.
It is my number 2 as well. It's a hell of a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It really just depends on what your mood is, what you're in the mood for between 1 and 2.
So that's it. Winter Soldier, number 1.
Winter Soldier is the best one by far, hands down.
All right. Fair enough. So, so the top 5 for me again: Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one; Captain America: Civil War; Avengers: Infinity War at 3; Thor: Ragnarok 2; Winter Soldier 1. Your top 5?
Spider-Man: Homecoming is 5 because I'm a Spider-Man geek. Iron Man, the original, at 4. Guardians number 1 at 3. Thor: Ragnarok, and then Winter Soldier.
There you go. That's the list, people. Take it to the bank.
Yeah. Choose which one of you like better, and let us know. Who's more right?
And we should only do the master ranking, I think, at the end of every phase. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, yeah.
All right. We could always do like a top 5 or something when a new one comes out, if it breaks the top 5.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah. It's just that, I don't know, I just don't want to do this 4 times a year.
No, I completely feel you. But I think when Black Panther came out, I think all we said was top 10, but not top 5. And then that still works out, you know?
Yeah, I had it at 9, you had it at 8.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right. that's a big show. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We would love to hear your thoughts about Avengers Infinity War. What's your ranking of all things MCU? Shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. Next week, we're going to be discussing You Were Never Really There. Or is it Here? There?
Never
Here?
really here, I think. I was never really here?
Somebody wasn't somewhere. That's
Yeah.
all I know. It's the Joaquin revenge action-y film. So
Sure.
I'm very excited to check that out. A bunch of other stuff coming up too. Check us out on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And of course, as always, at thefirstrun.com. Make sure, though, on those other sites that you just do a hell of a lot of scrolling, and then eventually you'll find us. And go to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, excuse me, and give us a rating. In fact, if you give us a rating, I will read it on air, no matter how bad it is. Though, again, we're looking for 3.5, 4-star minimums.
Yeah.
But I will read it no matter what it is.
Okay.
So help a brother out. You can also listen to us on TuneIn and Stitcher, and we're hopefully going to be on Google Play soon and some other outlets. We're very excited about that. So that's going to be the big show for this week, folks. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all soon.
How's this dude still alive?
He is not a dude. You're a dude. This is a man. A handsome, muscular man.